After Graham, I'm wondering, is it all a sham? Is the grand old party taking a budget dive? The party which so loudly fought for those sequester cuts, because at least they were better than no cuts, is now trying to end those cuts quietly, sneakily, but I think pretty clearly. To Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee, who's been watching all of this furiously. So you will of the senator, he's pretty consistent on these issues. And Senator, you know, I'm looking at your Republican colleagues, no offense, they seem to be all folding on this, and I'm worried about whether they forgot what the message of the election was.
Sadly, this isn't all that surprising. It's very disappointing, but this is exactly why I voted against the Budget Control Act back in 2011, because I predicted at that time what we're now seeing, which was that the cuts that they were trying to make to defense were simply unsustainable. They were completely unrealistic. So, look, there is a way to fix this, but we need to find a way to pay for it. This is consistent with the reason why I offered
it. See, they're not. Now, they're finding that they kind of have this broad goal. We're not going to quite do what the sequestration cuts were ironed out to be disproportionately in defense. But I referred to that period. I think you and I were chatting then. I think I was with you where you are now, that this was your sort of, that was for all of Congress, a backup backbone for someone to forcibly agree to something where the cuts would happen if you couldn't agree on what the cuts should be. It sounds to me, I could be wrong, sir, but it sounds to me Republicans are finding some vague commitment to entitlement or tax reform goals that will meet those numbers, but they haven't spelled them out.
Well, as long as we keep moving in that direction, that'll be a good thing. If we eventually get there, that'll be a great thing. Because if we can maintain
no offense to you, and I admire you because you're consistent on these issues and you hold your party's feet to the fire. But it sounds like one of my diet promises, like next week I'm going to start. Week after that, I'm really going to get going on the salads. Week after that, I'm going to be Mr. Yogurt Man. You know what, Senator? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Well, sometimes it doesn't happen, but sometimes it does. And those decisions that aren't yet made can still be influenced. This is exactly why I filed the pay-go amendment to the doc fix bill a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, the Senate didn't agree to it. It should have, it didn't. But there are ways that we can find.
What does that take? Republicans control the Senate. You can't even agree on that.
And we should. The fact that we made the wrong decision a couple of weeks ago gives us another opportunity to do the right thing the next time we have an important decision like this to make. Look, the fact is that we are in a world of hurt. We're accumulating debt at a rate that makes it unsustainable. And as Phil Graham explained in his recent conversation with you, the minute that our interest rate on our national debt starts to return just to historical averages, all of this is going to become completely unmanageable.
You know that, Senator? I mean, you got elected on that. I mean, you know that. I know that. The Senator knows that. I think all of your colleagues, Democrat and Republican, know that. But when it comes to stepping up to the plate and risking maybe a lot of flack, you know, with the exception of a few, it's not done.
But all of these are reasons why we need to focus on those things that are uniquely, unavoidably national issues, things like national defense. That's why it's important for us to continue to fund defense at appropriate levels, at levels sufficient to maintain our military edge.
You don't think $600 billion a year is enough for defense? I mean, can't we reallocate within that budget? Because $600 billion seems like a lot.
We ought to be able to reallocate among the money that we've got going into the government right now. We ought to be able to find ways to offset that. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to continue to fight to do exactly that.
I'm just worried, Senator, at the end, they're going to find a shell game around this. Republicans are going to rally around an idea that they appear to be addressing the problem, but they're just punting on the problem. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I hope that you are wrong, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to prove you wrong. I can't prove to you right now that we're going to do the right thing, but I do know that if we don't try, we have no chance of getting there. And so that's why it's helpful to have you bringing this to the attention of the American people, of your viewers out there who are concerned about this issue. They ought to be contacting their congressmen and their senators, and especially Republicans, saying, look, you ran on this. You told the American people, if you give us a chance to govern, we will put ourselves on the path towards sustainability. And that's what the American people expect. And the more we can hear that from our voters, the better off we're going to be.
Senator, good seeing you again. Senator Mike Lee of the fine state of Utah. We shall see, Senator.